Hey buddies, SomeNutzGuy here. Hope you're having an awesome day so far. In this video, we're going to be going through some tips and tricks to get started in Loop Hero. These are sort of mostly early game tips, and we may well do some sort of mid-game, late-game tip videos for you as well. But these are some things that I definitely wish that I knew when I first started Loop Hero, and which will hopefully benefit you in your loops. Alrighty. The beacon card can be a good card for having speedy runs, so you can move around the map faster because it increases the movement speed within its range by 40%. However, it increases the attack speed of all units within range by 20%, which includes you and enemies. So you can imagine if you're fighting two enemies and everyone has a 20% attack speed bonus, you're the underdog because there's two enemies with the same bonus, so they essentially have double the bonus that you do. So you want to place beacons away from areas where you're going to fight. So if I was going to place a beacon here, I'd probably set up all my fighting tiles around these edges instead of near the beacon. Meadow is a nice card that heals 2 HP at the start of each day. It can be placed anywhere as it's a landscape tile. However, there's a certain secret element to it, where if it is placed next to another building type of any kind, so say, for example, this beacon here, it will turn into a blooming meadow, which has an additional bonus. So you essentially want to have the meadows near any other tiles that you've placed in the landscape to make sure that they are activated as blooming meadows. There's also a combo here with Chrono Crystal. The Chrono Crystal doubles the effect of a day's passing on adjacent tiles. A little bit confusing, but this gives us health per day, and this doubles the effects of things that happen per day. So the best way to utilize this combo is to place a Chrono Crystal here on the corner of the path, and then drop 2 meadows here and here. So you're getting the full value by upgrading them to blooming meadows, and you're also getting the double there, double effect from the Chrono Crystal. The Road Lantern is also a very good tile in Loop Hero, because what this does is it decreases the maximum number of monsters that can be on any one tile at a time. Therefore, the maximum number that you will have to fight when entering that tile. So say, for example, the monster cap is 4, by the way, on any given tile by default. So there could be potentially 4 slimes or 4 different enemies here. Having to fight 4 enemies at a time is obviously much harder than fighting 1, 2, or 3. So what you can do is use road lanterns, and they do stack. So you could put a road lantern here to reduce it by 1. The cap is now 3. You could put 2 more lanterns here and here, and that would reduce the cap all the way down to 1 for the tiles within the ranges of the overlap there, if that makes sense. Now, the minimum can only be 1, of course. Villages are a very useful tile in this game. What they do is, as you can see on the bottom right corner, heals 35 HP upon entering and gives you a quest. It's the second bit which we're going to explain here because it's a little ambiguous as to what that means. You can place a village on a road, it's a road tile, so you can place it anywhere on the road. Now, when I pass this, it will give me a quest as well as healing me. You'll notice that as I pass, this mob here just got hit with a beam, and it now has a little crown. This means that this mob is going to be our quest target, and when we defeat it, we're going to earn a little prize. It's either a resource or an item. And just to show you what that effect is, you can see their quest goal plus 200% HP. What that means is this monster has an additional 200% health, but will give me a reward once I've killed it. Landscape tiles will generally give you a passive bonus and may have some kind of configuration requirement or bonus if you use them in a certain way. As an example, thickets give you additional attack speed, mountains give you additional health, or rocks also give you additional health with slightly different rules between rocks and mountains. And there is a combination that you can make with mountains specifically. There's a good one, and there's also a negative combination. There's only a negative combination for thickets. Actually, that's not true, but the positive combination is more later game and slightly confusing. This is more of a slightly earlier game guide. Now, the mountain combo is one of the best early game combinations that you can make. So when you create a 3x3 pattern of either rocks or mountains, doesn't matter what the arrangement is in terms of rocks or mountains, but just 3x3 rocks or mountains, this will turn into a mountain peak. The mountain peak is very, very good. It gives you a lot of bonus health. It gives you a lot of bonus health per adjacent rock or mountain tile, but it also does start to spawn harpies every 2 days. Now, there's also something else to be aware of, is that when you get an additional mountain, every 10 mountains or rocks that you place on the field, this counts as 9, will spawn a goblin camp. Goblins can be very strong early game, and they're a bit of a pain in the butt. I'm trying to get a rock here so I can show you what that looks like. And we're not going to get it, so hopefully we get it right here. Perfect, we have a rock. Now we're going to place our 10th rock down, and a goblin camp spawns. The goblin camp is... The goblins are strong. It'll spawn a goblin once a day. They're very strong. They're a pain in the butt to deal with. And this will spawn every 10 tiles, every 10 mountain or rock tiles that you place. Something similar happens with thickets. So if you ever see something pop up that you didn't expect, you didn't place, hover over it. It'll tell you what how it got there and what the spawning conditions for that particular thing are. It's a good time to cover the Oblivion card as well. The Oblivion card is one of the best cards in the game. It will delete tiles. It will delete any tile for you, and this can be used in a number of ways very, very valuably. The Oblivion tile can be used to get rid of this goblin camp as an example. So I probably don't want to place my 10th mountain until I have an Oblivion, unless I'm comfortable with dealing with the goblins that are going to be spawning once a day. The Oblivion will remove the tile and also set back the boss time counter, because the boss time counter is based in real-time number of tiles that are on the board. Another great value of the Oblivion card, and an additional tip, this is one clip with many tips attached to it, is the Treasury. Now the Treasury, this is loads of tips actually combined. The Treasury is a great card to place. The Treasury can only be placed in a space with 3 adjacent tiles. It can't be placed anywhere where there's anything next to it. So I couldn't place it here or here. It would have to be placed away from everything else. Now, the Treasury on its own doesn't really do much. It gives you an extra resource every time you place something next to it within the adjacent zone here, so it can get you some additional resources. However, once you've surrounded the Treasury here, once you've surrounded it entirely, it will go like this. Boom! And you get a buttload of resources, you get some extra cards, you get some extra stuff. Hey, look, we just got an extra Treasury. That doesn't always happen. That was just by chance there. But it's now turned into an empty Treasury. Now, an empty Treasury will spawn a gargoyle every 3 days and has no positive benefit. So what you'll want to do is use Oblivion on that empty Treasury to get rid of it. Goblin camps, treasuries, every time you basically don't want to convert something negative unless you have an Oblivion to deal with it, or you're comfortable dealing with the negative that pops up. Another tip here in this clip. Now treasuries, because of the boss time counter and the way that treasuries work, I cannot put it in anywhere where there's adjacent tiles. You'll see it has to be at least 1 tile in every direction away from something. So you'll want to sort of maximize your treasury to required tiles to activate ratio, if that makes sense. So what I usually do is I tend to stack my treasuries. I don't encircle them one by one as we go. I'll stack treasuries down, because I can place a treasury here, then I can place one here, then I can place one here, then I can place one here, and then every middle row is activating both treasuries at the same time, if that makes sense. Just like many other games, there are tiers of items, or tiers of rarity of items in Loop Hero. Gray is the standard, blue is the next rank up, uncommon, yellow is the next step up from that, rare, and then orange, like a bright orange color, which I currently don't have any at the moment, is the next rank up, exotic, legendary, whatever you want to call it, epic. You know, they don't seem to have specific names, they just have the colors that relate to their sort of tier. Now, beware, the number here also is the level of that item. So the higher the level, obviously, the better. The higher the tier, the better. However, bear in mind that you might be going for a certain build or a certain play style. So taking a lower level or a lower tier item may actually be better for you, given your play style, given your current build, given whatever you've placed on the board. So it's not always the highest number, highest rarity is best. Sometimes it's circumstantial, and I'd also pay attention because sometimes it seems like higher tier, like a yellow or an orange item, it has more bonus stats, but the stats seem to spread out. So you're not gaining a huge amount overall. You're more spreading your stats out. Some of them are fantastic. Some of them have obviously more stats for you and have high values of those stats. So there's quite a range for each item. Some orange level 10 items are worse than other orange level 10 items. So while there's these things to help guide you making the right choices, ultimately it's going to be circumstantial and obviously up to you in terms of learning the different elements. Small additional note here is that each color upgrade, each tier upgrade adds an additional stat. Gray has no additional stats, just the base one there at the top. Then the blue will give you 1 bonus stat, the yellow will give you 2 bonus stats, orange gives you 3 bonus stats. The last tip I want to cover today is with regards to the battlefield card. The battlefield card it's quite a nice card. It's quite interesting. So it's a roadside card, so you place it next to the road, and it has an adjacent little zone here, just like many other cards. Now what that adjacent area does is once per loop, so once you hit the campfire, it will spawn a chest somewhere on one of those tiles within that adjacent zone. It also means that enemies within that adjacent zone can respawn after death as ghosts. It essentially means they have a 20% chance of respawning as a ghost once you kill it in battle. The chest is obviously very good, and because it spawns once per loop, you want to place this as early as you can. So I placed this in a bad place because I wanted to show you the buff, and there's currently monsters here that I can show you the buff. Or the buff of the monster, which is a debuff for you, I guess. But you want to place this as early as you can. So as an example, if you were to place that here, it would spawn a chest here or here, and that's basically free loot. So you hit the campfire, immediately the chest spawns at the very beginning. So you want to put those early on. There's an additional factor with the battlefield to be aware of, though, is that if you overlap this space, you overlap the the AoE around it, it will over a track, over the path, it will cause that to turn into a bloody battlefield. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but that essentially, that ground can spawn stronger slimes who can be a real pain in the butt pretty much at any point of the game, but definitely early game. So you do not want to overlap the radius of these tiles, the battlefield. You can overlap them in empty space, so the empty space around here, but just don't overlap them on here unless you intend to do that and are comfortable with doing that. We're going to show you the buff here really quickly. It's saying it has a 20% chance. It has a 20% chance. Oh, here we go. It's up here. It has a 20% chance for all things to be reborn as a ghost. I couldn't find it for a second. Apologies. Yeah. So apart from that last little tip, which was slightly scuffed at the end there, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing. I stream live on Twitch most days, and I would go live at 1 o'clock UK time when I do go live. It's most days. At the moment, I'm taking Mondays and Fridays off to do these kind of videos for you. And yeah, man, hopefully we'd see some of you guys there. It would be awesome. Regardless, I hope you have a beautiful day, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.